Somebody was going to talk about the border, so I went. And I have to tell you that my emotions went from here to here. I was angry, I was sad, I was disgusted, I was everything that you can possibly imagine that's bad. I could not believe what is going on at our border, even though I knew some of the things that were going on at the border. So to tell you all about it, here is Johnathon Alexander.
Well, good evening, Lake Havasu. Appreciate you guys having me here. So I had David Diaz. He was going to come and try to run this for me, but he called me. He said he's sick right now. So I'm going to try to get through this running my own screen. So, anyways, the news channels want you guys to believe that we don't have a problem on our borders. So I'm down constantly doing live coverage down in Mojave, Arizona, Aribaca, Arizona, and soon to be a few other areas. As you see in the photos up here, this first photo, this is the cartel on the move over by 3 Points, Arizona. If you know where that's at, it's about 40 minutes from Tucson, about 50 miles from the border on the American side. So right up back here in the distance, which you can't quite see in this footage, there's a water drop out here, water and food drop. That's left for the cartel by the humanitarian aids. I'm sorry, what's that?
That we provide.
So the Pima County Sheriff actually protects this water and food drop for these thugs right here. If you're caught trying to destroy the water drops or anything, you go to jail.
But they don't.
But these guys don't. So Mojave, Arizona, 3 Points, Arizona, Aribaca are the #1 spots in the nation for human trafficking, drug trafficking, you name it. It happens every day. So I've got a little footage I'm going to share with you guys. Okay, down in Mojave, this is Trump's wall. As you guys can see right here, this is a 30-foot tall steel wall. It's wide open right through here, where we got sections of the wall missing. So the cartel, they'll send the women and children right through this wall right here, day in, day out. And I'm talking by the thousands come through the border. So what the cartel does is they'll get a group of women and children together, shove them through this sector right here. 3 miles up the border wall, you've got another huge gap sitting up here, where the cartel is actually running the drugs right through. They take them up the trails, clean up into 3 Points. Where the water drops are that I just described, those water drops are on the cartel's trail to 3 Points. So, in other words, they think the cartel needs to stop, eat, have something to drink, or they're going to die.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, why in the hell are you feeding and watering the enemy?
Right.
You don't do that in combat.
No.
So why are we doing it here in America? But we're doing it. These Catholic organizations, not to pick on the Catholics, a lot of your other churches are involved in this as well. They're funding this. We've actually caught them down in Mojave right here, where they'll actually go right through the wall back over here to this mountainside here. The humanitarian aids do, without going through the border checkpoint. They just cross right over into Mexico and even leave water and food up here on the hillside for the cartel. We've got the video footage to prove it. And I'm also a private investigator, so I don't just report it. We investigate everything going on the border. So I'm going to try to skim through this real quick for you guys. This right here is a bunch of them that got captured. Right here. These guys on the hillside over here, these guys aren't your Americans that you think they are. These are actually traffickers that were captured. And that, thanks to the dog. I'm sorry, what's that?
What happened?
What happened to them?
Nothing.
Chances are they were probably processed, given an appearance date, and then they disappear here in America, just like the rest of them do.
Yeah.
It's pretty much catch and release. These illegals pouring through the border as well. Everybody says poor children, poor refugees. Well, I agree, poor children. Because 90% of these children coming through the border wall right here are being trafficked. So these women that you see lined up at the border wall, which we're going to get to here in a second,
Aren't even their mothers.
that's not their mothers. These are hired by the cartel to get these women to get these children into America, young girls up to 18 years of age. They send them over to the processing center. From the processing center, they go right to the airports and bus stations and sent to a city near you and me, all across America. This happens every day. We're actually starting to see some bus loads coming into Kingman. I've got it on recording. And everybody kept saying this is never going to happen to Kingman. Well, it's starting. So right now, we need a sheriff in Mojave County that's going to do his job. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think Mike's the man. And he's got my vote. So if we need someone that's going to work with us, that's going to help put a stop to some of this human trafficking, that's going to lay his foot down and say, not on my watch. Because right now our federal government is letting each and every one of us down every day. If you guys were to come down to the border ever with me and take a tour, by the time you're done with me on a 3-day tour, I guarantee you're probably going to have PTSD when I'm done with you. The places that we've taken Senator Hart, even the senator flat out said, John, appreciate going to the border with you a couple times. It's been there. He goes, but I think you gave me PTSD. I mean, we took him right into the heart of the cartel camps, right on American soil. So I've mentioned this in several of my speeches already, and I'll just say it. Up in 3 Points, Arizona, we had a bunch of dogs come up missing up there. They're all over the Chevron bulletin board, people missing their dogs. A little over a mile and a half away, we found all the dogs. They were sitting right in the cartel camp right outside of 3 Points. They were all butchered. Cartel ate them. The people in 3 Points are furious, as they should be. But again, Pima County Sheriff don't do anything about it. So, God, I wish Dave was here.
Move the screen.
Actually, I don't think you meant to, but you lost my one page.
I'm good at doing that.
That's all right. I'm going to skim through it.
Volunteering.
So right here, right now, what we got going on a lot is the cartel is paying Americans to do human trafficking and drug running. So right here, this is another U.S. citizen detained for smuggling illegals. As Americans hired by cartel for smuggling is on the rise. This is Border Patrol's reports that we've gotten from Border Patrol. And I've got several of these reports where constantly right now they're arresting U.S. citizens for trafficking drugs with the cartel guys or trying to smuggle them into the country. Illegals from 150 different countries. So it's not just America. We've got China coming through the borders, Afghan coming through the borders. I mean, you name it. 150 countries pouring through our southern borders. If you guys go on, right up here on my livebordernews.com on Facebook, you can see a lot of my footage I've been posting, or you can go to my website, livebordernews.com, on my website itself, or you can follow me under Facebook under Johnathon Alexander. I post a lot of live feed from the border. That way you guys see live events as we're filming. It's not cut, it's not edited like your news channels do. What we do, we want the American people to see what we're seeing. Just like when we took the senator into the heart of the cartel camp, we did a live stream on that. So everybody in the world could see what we were seeing. So, because a lot of people will sit there and try to argue with us if we don't do that, going, well, how do we know you didn't cut and edit the videos like the rest of the news channels do? And that's a very good statement. So that's why we're focused on doing a lot of live streaming now. And you can also find me on my YouTube channel as well under livebordernews.com on YouTube. And also setting up on Rumble. Okay, so, and this is a bunch of fentanyl that just got confiscated July 19th, coming through the border. And that's at the border checkpoint, by the way. And this is Nogales Border Patrol Station seized $83,000 worth of fentanyl pills on July 21st while inspecting shuttle passengers at the I-19 checkpoint. And here's, what I'm getting at, guys, by showing you this, we constantly have large amounts of drugs coming through the border as well. It's constant. So down on the southern borders, we've got enough fentanyl coming through the borders each day to kill every last man, woman, and child here in America. That much fentanyl. That's just in the Mojave, Arizona sector alone. That's not including the other sectors. Can you all see that okay? So the Tucson Sector Border Patrol agents getting their act together, week in review. This is just in 1 week's time. 11,000 apprehensions, 43 rescues, 15 human smuggling events, 10 narcotics seizures. That's just in 1 week. You guys got to keep in mind, this is just what they're catching. If you look at Border Patrol statistics, they'll tell you 95% of these thugs get away. So what they're catching is good, but the other 95%, it's on our streets each and every day. This is why right now our borders should be concerning everybody here in America. This ain't a Republican problem. This ain't a Democrat problem. This is an American problem. Same thing with the human trafficking. It's not Republican or Democrat problem. This is an American problem. And if we don't put a stop to it now, everybody keeps saying, wait until Trump's in office. I love Donald Trump. He's got my vote. I don't know if we got until Donald Trump. If you guys have seen what's really happening on our borders, it's a mass invasion. And, exactly, a lot of states are allowing the legals to vote on their state elections. They're going to start trying to push federal elections next. And then what? So the question is, what do we do about it here and now? I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to get the Arizona senators, congressmen involved. Put pressure on all your senators, your congressmen. We need action on our borders. We desperately need it. This governor right now that we got, and that hurts me to say governor. As far as I'm concerned, she's very treasonous. She should be held accountable for treason, for assisting with this foreign invasion. When I say assisting, that's exactly what I mean. When you got where they declared the cartel as being terrorist, And this governor vetoed it. If you haven't seen it, look it up. She vetoed that bill.
She took down our container wall.
What's that?
She took down our container wall.
She even took down the container walls. And, you know, down on the border, a lot of your good border patrol guys call her cartel Hobbs. That's what they call her. I mean, that's where it's at. You've got a governor that doesn't seem to give a damn about Arizona. And again, that should be concerning for all of us. We've got to find a way to hold these elected officials accountable, because the Constitution tells you what?
The federal government is in charge of keeping this country secure.
What does the Constitution tell you?
That we the people.
To defend.
We are not to allow this kind of a corrupt government.
Right, yes, right.
We're not to allow it. So why is America allowing it? Because it's happening every day. We're not to allow this kind of a treasonous government, let alone president. So why is this country allowing it?
Because you have
Thank you, brainwashed.
News media brainwashing.
Everybody keeps saying, well, let's sit back and wait until, you know, Trump's in power or the next person. Well, right after Biden took office, what was the first thing we all saw on social media? Anybody know?
Open the borders. Close the pipeline.
No. The first thing you seen was Trump's really in power. Be patient and wait. We're into this 3 years, guys. 3 years. You know, next thing you know, Trump's running for office again. You know, and that's it. That's it. Unless the Democrats stop them some way, which they're trying. But again, at the same time,
No mechanism in the Constitution.
how do we put a stop to this?
Start killing politicians.
I like your answer, but
Start at the federal level.
but I'm not in the mood to go to prison.
Get the sheriffs.
Just start hanging them.
So what we need to do is we need to get the sheriff system all across the land involved in this matter. So I recently joined the CSPOA. Appreciate you guys having me aboard too, by the way. But we've got to find a way to get the sheriffs all across the country involved, because the sheriffs are the law of the land. The sheriffs have the right to hold these politicians accountable. And they need to step up. They can form a posse all across this country. And that's what needs to be done. You know, a lot of people hate the word militia. Well, I've been the commander of the Idaho Defense Force for years up in Idaho. If you pull up the Constitution of Idaho for militia, it's the law in Idaho to be militia. Flat out. They can actually fine you for not being a part of the militia. So when we got a problem in Idaho, our sheriffs will actually call us. Like Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, we had Antifa show up. And the sheriffs all stood back, said, you guys take care of it. Just don't shoot anybody today. So we took care of it. Downtown Coeur d'Alene never got touched. Spokane, Washington, we had militia over there to assist Spokane. The mayor ordered the police to tell the militia to leave. Spokane, Washington got totally tore up. A lot of it got burned. Right after our units pulled out. So there you go. A legitimate militia will get out there and get the job done if they're legitimate and do it in a legal manner. And I suggest that for Arizona. We need to get Arizona on board to become a state militia as well. The men and women of the state to be able to join up like we do in Idaho. Because right now, we're going to need it. Because where this state is headed right now, we're in a lot of trouble, guys. And the American people just seem to be sitting back in la la land, waiting for the next president to come along or somebody else to fix the issues. Well, if you look at the amount of illegals pouring across our southern border, what kind of an army are we going to be faced against if shit really hits the fan? Because right now we've already got millions of these guys, and I'm talking full-grown men of fighting age. I've got photos right here showing large groups of them, and I'm not talking 10 or 20. If you go on my Facebook, take a look. We're talking hundreds and hundreds in one batch at a time. And this is what we're facing every day. And they're just processed, released right into our country as well. But again, your fake news wants you to believe we don't have a problem.
Jonathan, tell them about the white buses.
So the white buses, matter of fact, I think I have some footage here, and sorry about that. This was all set until he touched it. Yeah, I'll blame it on you.
You blame everything on George.
Yes.
You just go right on ahead, and I'll take the blame.
Yeah.
So let me go.
Their shoulders for something.
Don't think you have it. Other way.
Okay, while we're waiting for that, here's the Chinese coming to our borders.
Hello? Hi, yeah. Do you speak English? English? Are you from China?
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
From China?
China.
And you're coming to America? Yeah.
No.
You're in the middle of the desert.
Hello? Hi.
And I'll show you guys this. This is one night in Sassby recently that I reported.
All right, guys. We're live from Sassby, Arizona. We had 64 people cross through the border here once again. We got Border Patrol here. They're just now loading up the last of the vehicles. As you can see, and Border Patrol has had their hands full down here today. We have now witnessed over 200 pour through the border, just right here in the 5 sectors.
There's a few hundred within an hour.
The 5 sectors are the 5 openings in the border wall. So, and we're just going to go from there. Sorry, I got to get out of Border Patrol's way. And we're going. There, as you can see, clearly they got their hands full. And we can thank the Biden administration for this. You look at the open border down here. Here's the wall where they crossed right here. These are the openings we kept sharing with you guys.
So that's the hole in the wall showing you guys one a border.
There's the big opening. This is all we have that's stopping these guys from crossing the border. Right here where these big holes in the wall are, it's this little tiny fence right here. We can come back down the way, as you can see, there's the wall again.
It goes way down there, that opening goes.
See, this is so
It's about 200 feet
Biden
wide.
administration, and you know, Border Patrol has their hands full. They got their hands tied. People are so down on Border Patrol for doing their job and the way it's being done. These guys are ordered to do a catch, take them to a processing center, and then they are released back and they're transported somewhere to a city near you around America. This is happening every day. And again, I'll show one last footage. Here's the border wall where they just crossed through.
I'll try to find the bus for you now.
Well, just tell them about the bus because we're running out of time.
So anyways, down here on the border right here, we've got the big white buses that come in. So, which is what you're seeing in a lot of your cities as well, coming in. So these white buses come into Sassby, 3 Points, Arizona area. They'll load up all these illegals after they've been through the processing center. They're taken right to the airports, right to the motels, all over the country. Now we've got busloads of them coming right into, like Kingman, Arizona. So I'm asking everyone to keep your eyes open for the white buses coming in. You can't miss them when you see them. So, yeah, go ahead.
So if we do see something like that, who do we report it to? Because, for example...
I would appreciate you calling me immediately, letting me know where you see them at.
Yeah.
That way we can try to get a team over.
About a year ago, I started getting all these phone calls on a weekend, and people were like, hey, there's all these buses at, like Safeway and Walmart, and this is in the Fort Mojave Bullhead area. And they were all throughout there, these buses full of what appeared to be illegal.
Were you here when I was just talking about that, about Bullhead? So we got a lot of illegals coming into Bullhead right now.
Well, yes, I live in that area. So
Yeah.
So I reached out to my supervisor, Ron Gould, and he says, call the sheriff. I called the sheriff, and that was
Nothing
it.
happens.
That was it. I called the sheriff. That was it. So if we don't get a response, if nobody's even willing to go and investigate what these buses are here for, what do we do?
Well, I thought Doug's famous last words to all of us people was he was never going to allow this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he said for Kingman.
Right.
He's a liar.
I was at the event over there at the Golden Corral meeting that he did, where he flat out told everybody.
He can't even keep fentanyl out of his jail. Do you think he's going to keep it out of the county?
Good point. So this is why it is vital that we get a sheriff that's going to stand up for us to help put a stop to this kind of corruption. Because no city deserves to have this happening to us. None of us. But it's happening every day. So, guys, you check out my website. I promise not to let someone touch my screen next time. just picking on you. But anyways, check out my website. Everything we do on the border right now, all my reporting and everything, I'm 100% funding it. So anybody that likes to make contributions, I've got a donation can. We'll accept the contribution towards our reporting on the border. Definitely check out my websites, my Facebook, YouTube channel. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw you at Have a Patriots. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Did you say at Have a Patriots that the buses were seen going over the London Bridge here?
Yes, ma'am. Not,
Why aren't we doing something about that?
but I can't guarantee you they actually stopped here in Lake Havasu. I know they were reported seen.
But if they're up in Bullhead, why can't we do something about it?
Well, the sheriff can if he would act on it.
Well,
So-
we
so-
have to wait for Trump, though. We can't wait.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing.
You're electing a new sheriff.
People say we can't touch these illegals because the government's allowing it. What's the word for them? Illegal. If they're illegal, they should go to jail and be deported right out of our country, period. Illegal is illegal. They entered our country illegal. They need to be treated as criminals and deported immediately.
I can't take my 357 and go take them out, and take them over the border. So what do? I mean, we can't wait for a sheriff. We can't wait for Trump. What is the plan? Because I get upset when I see stuff like this, but I don't see anybody doing anything about it.
Well, this is why the CSPOA and us, we're working on some things together. The constitutional sheriffs across the land need to come together. We need to form a policy, make it legal that way. Otherwise, it'll become another January 6th. We've got to have the law on our side. And the only way to do that is do it the right way. And we can do this. Other than that, what would take care of this issue? Another revolution. Because this problem's not going to go away.
Okay.
So we either got the right way or the wrong way to do it.
Any more questions?
Let's try to do it the right way.
Diane?
People here seeing the Sound of Freedom at the
Oh,
theater. Let's do something about it, not have all these children being trafficked into this slavery. And they're being brought over here illegally.
I 100% agree with you. Yes, ma'am.
We all agree. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys having me speak tonight. Sorry this is not organized like I had it.
I thought that was really good. The thing that happens and why they're bringing them in the buses is because the buses bring them here, And the government has negotiated with a motel to only take the illegals. And so the illegals come in the buses and just move right. It's killing me. I have a bad eye.
I'm glad you just mentioned that. Can I mention one last thing, 1 second?
Sure.
So down in Tucson, thank you. So down in Tucson, Arizona, when I was on my way back from the border, I was right there on the airport driving Tucson. I'm driving down the strip at night. There's the Comfort Inn. It had a big tarp over the sign. You can see it on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel. But to make a long story short, they have busload after busloads coming in of these white buses right there. Right when I seen it, I knew what was going on. So I set up, I got a motel room right beside the Comfort Inn. I set up surveillance all night right there, watching that motel. And there was hundreds and hundreds of illegals coming into the Comfort Inn. The very next morning, and this is right on Airport Drive, guys. So if you guys are in Tucson, go by and check it out, and you'll see what I'm saying. The tarp's still there. So anyways, to make a long story short, I went into the motel the next morning, and I told them, I acted like I was just a customer to check in, knowing what they were going to tell me already. And the motel says, sorry, this motel is now closed. And I questioned about all the illegals right there in the lobby and everything that I seen. And they said, well, it's closed to Americans. So, again, if you're on Airport Drive right there with all the motels, go by the Comfort Inn, see it for yourself. Seeing is believing. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jonathan. Give Jonathan a big hand, please. He's doing a lot of work that we all would like to do. And I hope that the federales don't show up at your house at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I got plenty of threats.
I bet. Okay, where we are is we have our main speaker, who is our dear Congressman Gosar, and he needs no introduction from me.
Jonathan, first thing I got to tell you is Winston Churchill said you can count on America to do the right thing when they've exhausted everything else. Boy, is he right. The other thing is Texas needs to step up. Texas needs to step up. Texas came in this country as a republic. Only two of them, California and Texas. Texas has the ability to challenge the federal government. Abbott, their governor, has not done any of that. He's been very lax because he's very interested in running in 2028 for president. So he doesn't want to get anybody off canter. Number two, we're really worried about our military arms that have been going to Ukraine because we've been finding them in the Horn of Africa. And we've had reports that they're down on the border.
They are.
Okay, so that may tell you something there. And third, it's going to take a military invasion. I hate to tell you this. It's going to take a military invasion to get this done with. There's too much profit here. The Chinese are sending all the materials for fentanyl. These children and young women are trafficked. Young boys are trafficked. And you had, I think, last year 178 known most from the terrorist watch list that came across the border. 178 in 1 year. What's it going to take? Is it going to take another 9/11 before we wake up again? Oh, and those hotels you're talking about? Some former political Homeland Security guys formed their own company. They didn't have to go out to bid. They single sourced it. The first contract we were awarded was $79 million. Then they were awarded another contract for $496 million. That's just what we know about. And if you go to New York State, veterans are kicked out of their hotel rooms for the illegals. If
Phoenix
that's not an
too.
insult, yeah, it's the biggest insult you've ever seen. But this seems to be our modus operandi in this administration. Do everything wrong and illegal. So what I thought I'd do tonight is talk to you about 3 buckets. Where we started at the beginning of this year, I was one of the 19 that did not give Kevin McCarthy my vote until the very end.
Yeah.
What legislation we've gotten out of it, and then the scandals. I really want to concentrate on the scandals, so the first part I'm going to go through very quickly. There were 19 of us. There's some benefits when we didn't see the red tidal wave. We saw a main red trickle. And what I mean by that is it only takes 5 of us to say no to Kevin McCarthy. He's not speaker anymore. That's power. We saw it. So we took advantage of it. So what did we get in return for it? Well, we returned to regular order. What does that mean? Well, not everything is ordained by the chairman and by the speaker. A member can bring something forward.
Oh, sir, I'm going to say what it is.
I'll just grab this way. Yeah, you can't drop it. I'll be following the mic. And you'll think I'd be curtsying, but no. That's a Brit. No. So what do we get? We got that regular order. So anybody can bring up an idea and have it run through the course of the process. That's key. Number 2 is we got back to recalling the speaker, vacating the chair. Pelosi had said that only one person, the minority leader, with consent of their majority in their own caucus, could do that. Well, now we returned it back the way Jefferson had it. Jefferson said any one member of the House can actually call for the motion to vacate the chair. We're back to that. So with that being said, he's actually done something pretty good. One of the things I actually got a deal was to end the COVID national emergency.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Little did I know what I was going to find. I found 41 open-ended national emergencies dating back to the Carter era. Like a national emergency with Syria, national emergency to Chad, national emergency to Yemen. These have nothing to do with national emergencies, folks. But the good news is we've discovered them. And because they've so misused them, now we can rechange this. Now, I'm going to go back to the COVID national emergency real quick. We spent $4.8 trillion. Let me repeat that. We spent, or was allocated, $4.8 trillion was allocated to COVID. When a national emergency is declared, every 6 months, the Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury, is to give to Congress a going detail of all the expenditures on this detail. COVID went over almost 3 years. There are 0 entries for the $4.8 trillion. In fact, the only time they acknowledged it was, remember the debt ceiling deal? That was kind of a crappy deal. Who would have thought that you might get $20 billion in savings, but you're going to increase the credit card $4 to $6 trillion? That didn't work.
Good deal.
Yeah, it's a really good deal. And we just for your information, that first trillion, we just went through it the fastest we've ever had in U.S. history. We've already gone through $1 trillion. Yeah, so this is really crazy. But they're a total violation. So when Kevin McCarthy came to me and said, Paul, what do I need to ask for from the president? I said, $1.2 trillion. He goes, I can't lie about that. I said, you're not lying. This will show you the mentality of what's going on in Washington, D.C. I can't lie. No, you're not lying. All you're doing is asking. They got to prove the numbers. They're responsible for proving the numbers. Not him. They are. He goes, well, how did you come up with $1.2 trillion? I said, everything in this town seems to have a 25% waste factor into it. 4.8 trillion, 1/4 of it is $1.2 trillion. That's hillbilly math. I thought everybody got that. But no, what did we get? $18 billion. That's all they would come up with. And there's still there's no listings in that 4.8 trillion. They said 18 billion, and they weren't even going to make that a cut. They were going to reinvest it back into the agencies that were cut. We also got a deal that said, okay, we're going to try to go back to pre-COVID levels for spending. That's 2021, folks. The cuts are around $140 billion. We can't even do that. I see a lot of this stuff. We heard Mr. Alexander in regards to our law enforcement. It seems to me like the FBI doesn't get their big gig on the Hill. They need a new headquarters. You forfeited that one. We got to get tough. The other side plays with reckless abandon. So do we need to get tough. Before I came in tonight, I was on the phone with Matt Gaetz. Who likes Matt Gaetz? Love Matt Gaetz. So I don't know if I've corrupted him or he's corrupted me. I don't know. But our comment was, what are we going to do? So his idea is to bring in Trump to speak in front of the House committees on judiciary and oversight, and to allow him to speak his words, and then to give him immunity by the House. This is part of the law. It's part of the law that's never been used, and it's not been even interpreted that closely. So we're going into uncharted waters. But we already are there. We're already there. What I was talking to Matt is let's do something a little different before we do that. Let's show them that we mean business. How about impeaching some federal prosecutors and some federal judges? We turn Arizona to what it was the first time we were rejected becoming a state. Long overdue. Long overdue. Because when we do that, the FBI is going to get serious about this. Number two, why not release every single minute of tape on J6? I've been begging Kevin for this, the speaker. He says, listen, Paul, I have some worries. My worry is that the Democrats have better materials and they'll find everybody that did something wrong there and turn them in. I said, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, you had the prosecuting attorney in Washington, D.C. that's going to indict another 1,200 Americans. So let's do something better. He goes, what's even better? I said, what if we were to give a $5,000 bounty to any American who finds one of those CIA, NSA, all those three-letter acronyms and turns them in? Well, I told that to Matt. Matt goes, well, you could ruin somebody's life. I said, I said, this is moral hazard, Matt. If you didn't know what was wrong and you did nothing, you're wrong. Last time my mom told me something is if you saw something wrong and you didn't say anything about it, you're as guilty as people doing it wrong, or even worse. So imagine this. People are being turned in by their countrymen. You think that's going to last very long? If I'm one of those people that was involved in this, I'm coming out. Wait a minute. See? Come get me. I'll squeal on anybody you want. That's what we got to start playing. We got to play hardball. You know, a lot of times people will say, well, what can you do if you only have in the House? That means that we have 1/3 of the federal government. 1/9. There's a lot you can do. You have the power of the purse. You can tell the FBI, you can tell anybody else, you ain't going to go past school, you're not going to get collect any money.
Paul, why hasn't that budget been cut?
What's that?
Why hasn't the power of the purse strings, you guys control it? Why hasn't that been cut?
What, the FBI? Well, we haven't got there yet. We haven't got there yet. We haven't got to the FBI yet. We only did the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, the FAA, and then we started in on ag. So we still have 10 new appropriation bills we still have to go through. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people from New York and California that don't want to cut their budget. I'll tell you that right now, because they don't want to offend them. I'm done offending. For Christ's sakes, I was the guy that was censored for a damn cartoon. Did you see me fly in here this evening? I'm known to fly in and fly out. The First Amendment, it was a cartoon. So we've got, and how do you feel about censoring? Everybody, we've now found out all of us are being censored by the government in consent with Facebook and Twitter. And what about the crime syndicate family in the White House?
Oh my God.
So once again, I hope we don't impeach him right away.
We don't want it.
We want to impeach an impeachment inquiry. That way we have the most powerful power we'll ever have. Take him up to so he is the only potential candidate they have. Then let Trump finish him off. That thing that Luana showed us here with Sanford and Son. Oh God, I would dream about Trump doing that.
You should post it on your website.
Oh yeah,
See how fast you get censored.
As a fan.
I want that.
But that's where we are today.
She'll email it to you.
We're being run
I
over.
can copy it on.
In immigration and Catholic charities. I complained about this. I'm the guy that called out the Pope. They chastised me. I'm a Catholic, by the way, too. But this guy is a communist before he is a priest, a Catholic priest. Here's a guy that in Argentina, in his own homeland, when they were talking about abortion, and it could have gone either way in the legislature, he chose not to intervene. You know what his answer was? Well, I got on the wrong side of the government on marriage. I'm not going to do the same thing on abortion. That's this cat.
He's ruining.
This is the same cat. It's the same cat that sold out to the Chinese government. The Chinese government now makes all the dictations to the bishops and archbishops and cardinals in China. Now they're changing the Bible. Absolutely.
Installed popes have consequences.
Yeah.
And he's going to China.
Oh, we got Chinese coming here. We got Chinese going there. We got Chinese going everywhere. You know, and that's another thing. We are now victims of our own success. China controls all the rare earths and critical minerals in the world. You want new technology? Oh, before we do that, let's go back to Ukraine. I'm not one of these that favors that war in Ukraine now.
No.
Let me explain this to you. Anybody heard of Putin going to the United Nations twice? Talk about Ukraine stopping their killing of his people? Putin lost 14,000 of his citizens to the Ukrainians. He went to do his due diligence. Now, I don't think he's a big guy, to be honest with you. But I don't think we ought to be spending all this money we don't have for IOUs. Let's just go start talking about IOUs. All those munitions we're sending over, they're putting a little sign bent from saying, we'll come back and get you this missile in 3 to 7 years. You can't make this stuff up. We're running ourselves dry. Biden knew this. And the way he knew this is he's the puppet. The guy orchestrating the puppet is Barack Obama.
Right. Yes. Yes. Amen to that. Oh yeah.
So what are we going to do about this? First of all, we have to hold the line. There's some good news, even if we fail. In that agreement for the debt ceiling, Thomas Massey got a kind of an interesting little play in here. It says that if we don't pass our 12 appropriation bills, every single one of them, and put them into law, the very next year we cut the federal spending on every agency by 1%. That's for each year. So in the last 7 years, we haven't passed a budget. It would be 7% we'd be cutting. But just even that, I told you $140 billion we were trying to cut for 2021. Can't even do that. It's crazy. We're addicted. Republicans and Democrats are addicted to spend. Now, some people will tell you, and I'll end with this and take questions, but some people will tell me, okay, we owe China all this money. Here's a question for you. Do we owe more to student aid or to China? Which one? Student aid by far.
Now they want to give it.
China, we really technically don't owe anything to. What's he talking about? What's he talking about? In World War II, China was the only country that never repaid the United States. Those bonds are valued between $1.2 and $1.8 trillion. We currently owe China $1.3 trillion.
Oh,
It's a wash.
brilliant.
Okay, it's a wash. Who owes? Where is it owed to? To you, in Social Security, Medicare benefits. Who attended my hearing last week for Social Security? Did you enjoy that? That's the easiest one to fix. Medicare is going to be a lot harder. And for our veterans in here, I am really sad to see we've seen a regression in the VA towards health care, but we're going to have some real big problems coming up with health care. So we got our work cut out for us. We really do. We need to get a lot of young people coming involved. Yep, we really need them, because that's the demographic we lost. They're a little different fiddle. That's why we need kind of the move to go towards these animes, these little videos and cartoons, because kids really like that. Now, it might have been censored by the House, but all the young people love me. They're like, you're the anime guy. When are you going to do that next anime? Well, I knew it was onto something because one of the things I did was, anybody know what an acronics is? An acronics is a hidden message. I did 23 tweets one time. I had to tell everybody what it was. First one I said, I'm in the area of 5 good tweets and 1 excellent tweet. Area 51. Who knew that was going to get me on Tucker? Tucker is just crazy about Area 51. So anyway, the most fun, by the way, we've ever had in my office. All of us were scurrying around trying to come up with 23 tweets. What was hidden in the message? Epstein didn't kill himself. I knew I'd hit it when I got in the cab with my chief of staff. And we were talking back and forth, and the guy goes, are you the congressman who did that acronics? And we're like, you know that word? He goes, yeah, Epstein didn't kill himself. So we knew we'd had our day. But that's the key. I see a lot of grandparents here. I see a lot of great-grandparents. I'm a grandparent. As a parent, I know what my kids did. It went in one ear and out the other. But when a grandma or grandpa says something to you, grandkid, it stays. So I'm asking you, I implore you, spend some time with the younger generation. They're a little different, but they're still American. Okay, I'll stop there and I'll take your questions. Who's got questions for me? Gotta ask some questions for me. Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing anything with Turning Point USA? A lot of younger people are really flocking here now.
They are. They're really flocking because they see freedom. We've done a lot with Turning Point. Great group of people. The other one we're spending a little more time with is Hispanics. Hispanics are naturally conservative. Family values, working hard, and they don't buy this other kind of crap. We just need to reach out to them. A good friend of mine, Steve Pierce, was a congressman over in New Mexico. His district was about 90% Hispanic. And he would win it. It was very close. It was a D plus 10. That means Democrats are favored over Republicans by 10 points. He still won by like 4 or 5 points. And his whole mission was just showing up. Just show up and talk. Show up and show interest. Allow a two-way conversation. That really helps. Yes, ma'am.
When are we going to get more Republicans like you to kick these flags and do what we need to do?
Well, we were just talking about that with me and Matt Gaetz. It only takes 5 of us.
Yeah.
There's 2 of us.
One thing.
So, to be honest with you, I was not a big supporter of Kevin McCarthy. For John Boehner, he was the attack dog. For Paul Ryan, he was the attack dog. And I was usually on the losing side of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the losing side. I was just on the opposite side. I didn't lose too much. I don't like losing. But he at least wants to play. And that's better than some of the chairmen. I think some of the chairmen are even worse. Mike McCall from Texas as Foreign Affairs, he gave us a really bum rap when it came to the national emergencies. When we tried to take Libya and Syria and all those out, he went against us all the way. He didn't want any reform. He just wanted things the way they were. So that mantra's got to change. So if I had my pick, we got to get the presidency. We got to get the Senate big. You can give me the House with only 5 vote majority. I like this because it gives the average congressperson leverage. And you got to get along. However, where we made it up last year, in New York and California, guess where Democrats are targeting? New York and California. So we got to come up with some other people that we're going to get across the finish line. Any more questions?
Tennessee, Kentucky. Kentucky's going to be a good race this year.
Kentucky will be. Kentucky will be.
We need to win that governorship.
Well, more importantly, we need that Senate. I don't know what's going to happen to Mitch McConnell. I hope all of you saw what happened to Mitch McConnell. He had a TIA. We call it a TIA.
Yeah.
He just went blank. My mother-in-law did the same thing before she had a big stroke. So it's not what you want to see. You don't want to ever hurt anybody. But his time has come and gone. Yes?
So I do have a question.
Okay.
How would you take control of this border right now?
First thing I do is I go to Governor Abbott. I talked to Ken Cuccinelli about this. I go to him and say, listen, you owe it to this country to take on the President of the United States. You have the ability to take this border under your control. You're the only one that has the resources, the manpower, and the money. Do it. It means you're going to go to court. They're all scared of this federal ruling about Arizona. That was Arizona a long time ago. That's why I wanted Kerry Lake. Kerry Lake was prepared to take this fight immediately.
Right.
Okay? You're going to take an incident. It's hard to say this to you, but people are going to have to take a chance. So, what I told her to do is outline the whole state of Arizona, even outline the To'oda O'odham Reservation. Why would I do that? You get a twofer. Most of this trafficking is coming through that part of that border. In fact, many believe that the To'oda O'odham are on the take with the cartels.
Probably.
Okay?
So we know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
What are we going to do to get it done?
Well, that's going to be up to all of us. How are we going to answer that question? Obviously, the federal government is incarcerating people right and left for anything they think is a violation. That's going to take a lot of risk on our part.
Yeah.
Look at anybody associated with Trump. You're taking a penalty. As an attorney, as their attorneys, they went after their bar licenses. Oh, I'll give you something more closer to home. Last year when I was running for re-election, guess who I got a visit from? Both me and Andy Biggs. No, an attorney. It used to be the Clintons.
Oh,
Mark Elias.
Mark Elias.
He filed charges in the state of Arizona against me and Andy for helping, aiding and abetting an insurrection. The 14th Amendment. Try to keep us off the ballot. $200,000, by the way, later, both me and Andy had bills of $200,000 were still on the ballot. But this is a new kind of warfare. They're going after money.
Yeah.
And when you got people like George Soros, you got all these billionaires like Gates,
Yeah.
they got lots of money to spend on us.
While you're talking about Soros, how is it that he can be a Nazi sympathizer and not, and be part of the SS? Because in his own book,
Can I shake your hand?
how is it that he got into this country, and how is it we have not seized his assets and sent him to Jerusalem?
Or Russia. Or
Well,
Hungary or
that was my comment. In fact, if anyone who wants to go back to Steve Kraft's interview in the late 1970s with George Soros, he's asked that. For those that don't know, George Soros was given to his dad gave him to the protection of a Nazi
SS
guy. Yeah. And this guy was a confiscator. This guy went to the Jewish community and confiscated all their stuff, their belongings, gold, everything. Well, Steve Kraft asked the question, don't you feel bad because you actually helped him? This is George Soros' answer. No, not really. It was a market. That's what he says. And then he follows it up by saying, if I didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. That's George Soros. The only place that's beaten George Soros is a place called Hungary. They kicked him out. They kicked his rear end. They kicked him out of his university. They kicked his university out. And you know what? That is a great country. I just visited there. I was part of their national renewal in regards to conservatism. They're building on family. They saw themselves dying out. So now, if a family has 4 children, they pay no income taxes whatsoever for the rest of their life. Yeah, 4 children. And it's amazing what is happening in that country. Absolutely amazing. And to take somebody like George Soros and kick him out tells you an awful lot about Orban. Viktor Orban.
Yeah.
I got to meet the man. I understand his popularity. He will come and talk to you. He had an open meeting for all of us. He would come and sit and talk to us like nobody else. He had great ideas. He's always asking questions. He always asks questions. And to see his history, 20 years ago, Viktor Orban was an uprising in their legislature. He was one of 3. In 6 years, they grew to be about 20, and they took over the parliament. To see him matriculate now that he's prime minister, that voted in about 80% of the vote, well, only tell you, he's got super majorities in the parliament, upper chamber and lower chamber. It's amazing. The United States could do a lot worse A lot worse.
Tucker was really impressed.
And they're very. This is a great country. I'll tell you right now, it's one of our best allies. If we had to deal with this with Israel, Hungary, and the United States, we're in good company. We're in really good company. But I'm afraid that's what it's going to take. You got war on your southern border. You got war on the east coast. You got war on the west coast. Remember that is China, Ukraine, Russia. What are you going to do about that, folks? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I understand about the states and what we can do with, combating what's going on at the border. However, you have states like California, where their southern border has been a sieve for eons. And so then what do? Do we have some kind of border between California and Arizona?
I was thinking water. I was ready to do dynamite so that we made an oceanfront property here in Arizona. No. In all fairness, that's what he's alluding to, because now we're a series of states, and there's reciprocity in those states. That's why I picked on California or on Texas. It's a republic. It's got way more strength than we do. There's only two of them. There's California and Texas. For the longest time, I thought California was going to be the first one to do it. No, it's going to be Texas. It's got to be Texas. And I'm seeing people like Chip Roy and Mike Cloud. They're all friends of mine. They're all in the Freedom Caucus. Very impatient now. Louis Gohmert. Very impatient now with their governor. If the governor ran again, I think he'd get beat by another Republican. That's how much pressure is now being put on Texas. Now that Arizona, we did not get Kerry Lake, there's no way I could see that ever happening. But we did. That's what happened. But Texas has got to hold the map. Remember the Alamo? Yeah, this is the real Alamo. This is a real Alamo. This is an invasion. We have the ability under the Constitution to do this. Article 4, Section 4. The invasion clause. Oh, they're not. That's why I said it's going to take a military intervention here. You're being barraged. He was showing you all the fentanyl coming in. Just think of what's not being caught. Which 100,000 of you are you willing to give up on? Because that's what it's taking out. Over 100,000 of our young people, particularly, are dying to fentanyl. You don't get choices with this. You don't get second chances with this. And now Narcan doesn't even work because they got this stuff called crank, right? Where they mix it with a horse sedative, and I don't care how much Narcan they get you ain't coming out of that. This is a zombie drug. You're gonna say you have any other? I thought you were gonna say something else.
Oh no, I have all kinds of stuff that
That's all right. That's all right. I mean,
my husband calls us California refugees.
that's all right. You're in the promised land now.
Yeah.
You're in the promised land. As Mojave County goes, so does Arizona. So, but no, I mean, we have lots of issues. Remember how I started this? Winston Churchill said, "You can count on America to do the right thing when they've exhausted everything else." As I'll quote the Blue Comedy Tour, here's your sign.
Yeah.
Our back is against the wall. We have done nothing for everything. First thing has to go, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama. His influence has got to go. Okay?
And Hobbs.
And Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin. But you also got to keep the House, get the Senate, and the presidency. The House will keep you in neutral ground. That's about all I can guarantee you of being 1/9 of the federal government. That's all I can give you. We'll win some things, we're going to lose some things. But you give me the Senate and a convincing Senate, and we can do this on this election. Tester, all these people are for a re-election, we can win this. We really can win this. And if we can keep the House, give me maybe 6 or 7, majority of 6 or 7, then that gives me a lot of leeway.
Paul, we have a question over here.
Sure, ma'am. Yes.
I have a question. Having been born in Canada and having become a U.S. citizen, at the time when you had to study, you had to have a sponsor, you had to have a job, you had to sign papers that you'd never take federal aid, yada, yada, yada. That was in 65. My question is, Trudeau, and I know what he's doing, declared himself as the only leader ever. There's no more vote of confidence. And he also declared they're an autocratic country. They are killing people with euthanasia. If you had somebody sick and they're in the hospital and the doctor, oh yeah, we'll get rid of this one. They're doing that now as we speak, doing with abortion. That's a 5,500-mile border.
Yep.
What are we doing? Because the illegals are going up across the border. I'll tell you what, they hog tie them and they use a baton on them.
They are, and some of those up there are much worse than they are down the
I
southern
know,
border.
but what are we
But that was
doing?
well said. That was well said from Castro's son.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
His mother lived and was a concubine for Fidel for 3 years when Pierre, his father, was prime minister. I know my parents went through all that in World War I too. But yeah, he is.
We have to stand as U.S. Now, I'm tired of all these endless wars. I hope you are too. You know, they have nothing in common for us. You know, the last time we won a war was World War II.
We don't even need
Look at what it's taking for Afghanistan to come home. Darrell Issa just had the 13 yellow, just to get answers from our government, just to get our answers, and they were bailed out on. The federal government bailed out on those people. How many more of us are going to take that? But there's going to be risks here. I got to warn you about this. There's going to be risks when you raise your hand. I understand this very carefully. I did an anime to be a joke. It has some real meaning, but they censored me. They came that close from taking me out of Congress. There's real consequences to this, folks. So what are we? Are we going to rise to the scene? Are we going to be the Americans that once fought for this country, for freedom and liberty and the pursuit of happiness? Is that what we're going to do?
Yes.
Or are we going to sit back? No. We can't. We can't. And places like Mojave County has to be the leader from that. Has to. I'll make you a commitment. People like Andy Biggs, myself, Eli Crane, will give you everything and then some, as long as you show the same reciprocity. We can make this happen. In the next election, I'll give you some homework assignments. Go out to everybody and get them registered. And then, in that last month, be prepared to go pick them up and deliver their votes with them.
Young people.
Young people, yeah, absolutely. We got to do this all the way across the board. Get young people. And just think about this. I think about this and I smile every time I'm sleeping. Yeah, I have this big smile on my face because I think about Donald Trump being reelected.
Amen.
And him cleaning house. Because that's what he started doing. That's what he started doing. The only thing I will tell you that he got miffed by was his law. I had a conversation with him at Thanksgiving in 2020, right after the election, in regards to Bill Barr. I said, Mr. President, you got ballyhooed by Bill Barr.
Yep.
He's associated with the Bushes. He was sent in to take care of you, and he did. So every time I see him on the Sunday shows, Bill Barr, and he's pulling his hair out saying, I don't know what I'd do if Donald Trump wins the election. Go to Canada. Go to Mexico. You know, there's a place called Libya out there that would probably take somebody like Bill Barr.
Take all those other ones.
Absolutely. If you don't like this country, hasta la vista, baby. See you later. But we are here. We got to be known for what we do. That's why I'm asking your help. We can do this. America's never feigned this kind of fight, nor should we. We got some great people. Yes, Diane.
Congressman Bozar, first of all, I want to thank you for all your efforts to try to do something. However, I want to mention you have the power of the Constitution and you have the power of the purse. We need to use that. It says that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense. We are being invaded by our border. We're allowing the cartels to take over. We're even busing people all over, giving them free hotel rooms, free food, free everything. And they're illegals.
doesn't that word mean anything anymore?
Oh, and Diane, it's even worse than that.
Why secure the blessings of liberty?
Diane?
And also for ourselves and our posterity. The only way we're going to do that is we need to use the power of this Constitution.
But we also
And the
have
power
to.
of the purse to stop this from going on. Let's send our military down to the border and stop them from coming in.
Well,
Period.
once again, remember, the House is one third of the federal government. 1/9. We can do the Constitution, but is this DOJ, is this Department of Justice doing anything about the justice, the rule of the law? No. There's no equal application whatsoever. They don't care about the Constitution.
No, they don't.
The other side didn't care about it at all. They wanted to file it. It gets even worse. You know the legals? So political appointed people from DHS left DHS. This is hot off the press. They actually got sole source bidding. They didn't have to compete for the bid. First time they got $79 billion. The other one, next time they got $296 million to house illegal aliens. There's no accounting of this at all. Our government has left us behind. Our government is lawless. Whether it be censorship, whether it be illegals, whether it be the war in Ukraine, weaponizing against the United States, censorship on the First Amendment. Folks, you don't have a First Amendment. You don't have anything. You don't have the. You have to have the First Amendment in order to be able to actually decide and debate having equal application of the law. These people are unbelievably smart and cruel. We go around as Republicans and conservatives thinking about this Constitution. Oh, it's the Holy Grail. It's only the Holy Grail if everybody believes it. If one party doesn't believe it, you got to start thinking outside the box.
Our Senate and our House have all taken an oath
Yep.
to defend the Constitution against terrorists, whether they be domestic or whether they be foreign.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. But here. I don't want to dampen you because you're dead on. You believe just like I believe. But tell me to tell that to some guy from New York who just won re-election. He won by 1%. And he thinks that his state is crazy. Or those people in California that won their election by 1,000 votes or 200, 300 votes. They're not going to think like you and me. They're more worried about being re-elected. Well, then government's deciding on term limits.
Term limits.
You know, so I was tend to tell you, I don't want anybody infringing on my rights. Who to pick? If I got a good person, I want to keep that good person. The government shouldn't be telling me anything. The government ought to be doing limited. It should be a limited government. How did our framers look at it? We gave the people into the states, we gave everything except for a few minute things. That was the federal government. The rest stayed to the people in the states. That's why I was talking here tonight at the dinner table. Arizona is a unique state, by the way. Here's why. When we had to become a state, we were rejected by Taft. It's important that you know Taft was the only sitting president to go on to become part of the Supreme Court. What he did, he understood contracts very, very well. So when he rejected us, he came back to us and he said, okay, Arizona, you can become a state as long as you accept the federal estate, the federal government estate. Do you know what they're doing right now? Biden's going to take a 1.1 million acre withdrawal off the Grand Canyon. Has nothing to do with the Grand Canyon. Nothing, nada.
That's uranium mining.
It's all about uranium mining. They want us victims. This is the cleanest thing ever. Oh, I'll even make it worse for you. Sorry, I got to do so long.
That's okay. I'll go sit down.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know who the family who took down the Nuclear Energy Commission in the 1970s was? My family. Do you know why? Those dummies. I lived in Pinedale, Wyoming, which is just 70 miles down from Jacksonville, Wyoming, which is close to Yellowstone. Anybody know the Yellowstone caldera? Huh. So these dummies wanted to take a nuclear bomb. They wanted to drill a hole 5 miles deep. They wanted to put this bomb and detonate it.
Oh my God.
What stops that big caldera from going? That caldera is always active. The hot springs, the geysers, that's relieving pressure. What happens is the Green River, which is a major tributary to the Colorado, goes north instead of south because it's on a fault plain. Now you got a guy like that, and I'm telling you, we want to have mining in the Grand Canyon. Here's why. The Brescia pipe is like this. It's concentrated core. Okay? It's in the depression. It's lower than all the rest of the rocks. See, my dad was a geologist. I hated rocks when I was a kid. But God, I love rocks now. They set you free. So what ends up happening, anytime the wind blows and the water rains up there, not much, you're getting contamination from it. So there are also stoppers that go through caliche clays. We have all these caliche clays that prohibit water from permeating back down to the subsurface water. Okay? You take the Brescia pipe, which is what it's called, out. You can use it. It's very clean to do it. These mine sites are less than 40 acres. Most of the time they're about 20 acres. I could show you a piece of land and I'd say go find it. You'll never find it, ever. But what you just did is you took out the offending rock, which is the uranium. You put down sand and rock in there. You get perforation of water down in the subsurface areas of the aquifers. You're saving water. Last time I looked, we were looking at water, aren't we? We got problems with water in Arizona. So we got to be smart about this, not stupid.
Yeah.
Now, go back. I'll give you another homework assignment. Look up the Navajo Nation right now. They had their coal-fired plant taken. Over in New Mexico, all their oil and gas leases under Chaco Canyon were taken. Navajo Nation has no income coming in. None. You know what their for-profit energy company came to talk to me about? How do we get in to the Wallapai area to help with that lithium discovery? I said, well, I tend to think I'm kind of smart, but this one's pretty easy. You got water that they want. They've got lithium that you want. Sounds to me like we can make a deal. That's already started somewhere. It's already starting to go. Isn't it interesting that the Navajo president has said publicly, I don't want a handout. I want to work. I want to have the privilege of having my head held high and having a job. I sat there and watched Fernandez, my counterpart over in New Mexico, belittle that man. We'll be there with a handout, with a check. Over and over she said that. He said, no, I don't want a check. I don't want a check. That's not how you do this. You work for your living. Maybe it's time we ought to go be talking to the Navajos and saying, listen, how have the Democrats been for you lately? If we can make this really work and we get the gumption to start doing this, we got plenty of people that will vote for us. We can make this work. Do you know in the last election in 2020, there were over 300,000 sportsmen who did not vote? Did not vote. They definitely weren't for Biden if he's doing that withdrawal. They would have been Trump voters. They just had to get to the polls. We have so many opportunities here. And this state is one of the wealthiest nations in the world. We have lithium, we have copper, we have manganese, we have all these rare earths and critical minerals everywhere you look. We got new types of refining and smeltering that is very biologically and environmentally clean. I don't want clean water. I don't want any dirtiness. But what you're being pitched to with these solar cells, they're sending them to the junkyards, to our landfills. They got cadmium and they got other metals that leach into your water that will permanently destroy your water supply. Yeah. So, I mean, what are we really suckering for? Oh, by the way, do you know we were 1 minute away from a rolling blackout earlier this year across the whole country? Yeah, we were. The only reason we averted it was some young gal flipped a switch she wasn't supposed to flip. Here's your sign. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
California can't charge EVs now.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're telling people at nighttime, don't charge your EV because we don't have the power to do that. Oh, and you can't buy a gas stove? And how about a water heater? This is unbelievable. I guess if the government can take everything, give you everything, they take everything too.
Yeah.
And if I'm Social Security and a Medicare recipient, I'd be very careful about that one. What they're going to do is they're going to take this over, and it's going to be the Bidens and the Obamas of the world.
Yep.
You may have worked your whole life for that benefit, but you're only entitled to this. That's all you get. Why do you think they're master planning with their tax codes? For their who's on the, who did I say was on the planning and zoning? Was it Lon? Yeah. Master planning from Washington, D.C. That's what they're doing. I killed it once under Obama, now I have to do it with Booker. Booker's doing it all over again. They're trying to micromanage, saying you can't do this. It all has to be multiple family buildings. It can't be no more than 1,000 square feet in each of the buildings. It's crazy. You have to be this close to a post office. You have to be this close to a food. Don't even get me started on that one.
So that's so you don't have to drive.
You don't have to drive. That's exactly right. You don't need a car. You don't need a car. You don't need a boat.
You don't need to leave your.
You don't need to
You don't need to leave
house.
anything. Yeah. So that's not the America I remember as a kid.
You will have nothing and be happy.
You know, I remember my grandfather when he first came here from the Basque Country. Yeah, I'm half Slovenian, half French Basque. I guess I'm a terrorist through and through. My grandfather got to this country and he kissed the ground. He said, "This is the best country ever." He went back, but this was his country. He did it the right way, just like she was saying. He knew his English. In fact, he taught my grandmother, who was 14 years younger than him. He brought her over and he taught her everything. In the 3rd grade, the teacher didn't know what to do because she was making popcorn balls. And here's this 33-year-old guy in her class. He loved this country. I love this country. Donald Trump loves this country. I hope you do too. Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Doesn't get any better than that. Okay, I just have a few announcements that I need to make. Our next meeting is in September, and as you already know, it's going to be on the ranked choice voting. I'm trying to get Austin, and if I don't get Austin, I'll get somebody else because that is so important. On September the 17th, Carrie Lake is going to be here again. She's going to be at the Aquatic Center, and it's free to come in and see her. She's going to have her book with her, and so she'll be selling that, the book Unafraid. She'll be selling that. So you can buy her book, but it doesn't cost anything to go. And it's on the 17th of September, and it is, what time did she tell me? 3:30. 3:30 is when it starts. October the 19th is the AZFRW convention. I know there's 10 of us at least that are, 11, because you count me, going, and that's wonderful. The red bags on your tables, don't forget, you need to put money in those so we can give it to the American Legion. Oh, and I remind everybody the blue tickets, if you happen to be a member, please put in your hours that you have done. Men also. Oh, okay. Yeah, the associates get to do that as well. And now we're going to go to the 26 Club drawing. And folks, this is the last one for this 26 Club. And we will then have a hiatus until March. And in March, we'll start selling the tickets again.
Are you sure you won't?
Sure.
I think the federal government here.
Don't pick her.
You guys are making so much noise, I can't hear her.
Are we still doing concerts this week in Havasu?
All right, guys, I'm going to end this live broadcast. Appreciate you guys joining us.
I don't know anything about that, and I don't believe he's here.